welcome to the Momversation Club, the podcast born out of the idea that every mum needs a tribe. I'm Claire Strong.
And I'm Christina Struckmeyer. We're two moms just like you, navigating the chaotic, challenging, and often isolating world of motherhood.
Now, it's said that it takes a village to raise a child, but we want to know, where the F is that village?
It's a question that resonates with so many of us who find ourselves raising children, managing careers, and trying to maintain our own identities, often with a sense of isolation.
But we're here to remind you that you're not alone. The Momversation Club is your village, a place where you feel appreciated, respected, and understood.
We believe that by sharing our own experiences, successes, and struggles, that we can create a virtual village for all you amazing mamas out there.
So join us every week for real, raw, and relatable discussions about all aspects of being a mum, including the stuff you just can't talk about with anyone else.
So if you've ever asked yourself where the F is the village, then you found your tribe. Let's get into it.
Hi, Christina.
Hello, Claire. How are you doing today?
I am good. I love your earrings.
Thank you. I bought them for myself. I saw them at a little shop and I said,
so spending money on yourself. I'm joking.
I know. I'm the worst. But I saw them in a little shop and I went, you know what? One can never have too many black and white or leopard print earrings.
I agree. I love them. Well, you need to let me know where you got them from because I want a pair of those. We'll have to twin. We'll do an episode with twinning earrings. That would be cute.
So, Claire, I am excited for today's topic because I think that so many mamas can relate to this. So, share with us today. What are we chatting about on the Momversation Club?
So, for the past week, I have been so ill. I usually don't get sick. I have that mum immunity. I say that every time because I'm always the one that either doesn't get sick or I just get a mild dose of what everyone else in the house has. But so the girls had got sick at school. There's something going around. It's kind of like, it's like, I would say they're like COVID symptoms. Honestly, it's a lot of snuffy noses, earache, fever, headache. And so I caught what they had. And so for the past week, I have been mumming it while sick. And that was the inspiration behind today's episode, because I know that a lot of moms can relate to this, to still having to get up in the morning and sort out the kids and basically do everything around the house and, maybe throw work in there too while sick. So this is what I wanted to dedicate today's episode to.
I love when we were talking about it because Claire and I, we through this podcast have become really good friends, and we chat about things throughout the day. And when she told me she was sick, I told Alex, Claire's feeling poorly, and your vernacular is coming over here.
That's so funny.
And no, I'm saying that, but it's true. I think that you unfortunately don't get any sick time or PTO or any of that jazz when you're a mom. You kind of have to just keep going. I mean, it's kind of like a zombie walk. How have you been feeling through this?
Well, that's exactly, I would categorize it as that. I've just zombie walked through it. So I've still had to, what I really needed, I needed a couple of days in bed, Christina. I needed to be able to sleep it off. I needed to be able to just maybe get up, get myself a bit, make myself something to eat and then go back to bed. But I haven't had a chance to do that. And so what that's looked like is, my husband's alarm goes off at 4:30 in the morning. It's just, I hate that. I hate that bloody alarm.
That's so early.
It's ridiculous. So his alarm goes off at 4:30. So I am awake at 4:30. I try and fall back to sleep for a little bit. But then, I was up and then I'm doing one school run, coming back and doing the other school run. And then I've still been working during the school day. So even though the kids have been, out of the house, I haven't taken the time, which I really needed to go back to bed and just sleep it off. I've been working either, on our stuff or on my other things. And so, one of the days I was literally in a meeting, well, over the phone, thank goodness, so no one could see me. And, I was in a meeting in my dressing gown, and this might be TMI, but I had a fever and I was like sweating it out. It was ridiculous. And I was thinking to myself, why am I doing this? Like, this is not, I should not be, exerting the energy required to sit through an hour long meeting about news agendas and so forth. I need to be in bed. So I've kind of struggled through the last week. My husband has offered to help, which is fine, except he's not around most of the day, and then some
Yeah.
of the days he's not even being physically like in the area. He's been kind of out of the area, and then he was hosting some people from another site, and so he was going out for dinner at least twice of the two of the nights I was ill. He was out for dinner because he had to go because it was prearranged and all of that. And so, yeah, I've really just had to soldier on. And I'm not suggesting that that's how it should be. I'm just telling you that's been my life the last week.
Well, it's hard because I feel like whenever anybody gets sick, like there is that moment where you're like, "Well, can I push through this? Can I
Mm.
get through and not have to take this rest?" Because taking a rest for anyone who's productive, it does, bring down that productivity. It does take you to another level of like exhaustion.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, but as a mom, like you kind of don't get that option. And I've been sick a couple times since having two of them, and it is difficult because you're trying to navigate your own feelings and push through, but there's a point in being sick. If you push too hard, you actually make yourself worse, and then you don't get that sleep time, that time to get off. Your girls are older. Do you ever do anything now that they're older and you're sick that helps you recover a little bit better? Like, is there a fend for yourself night for dinner or something like that?
Okay, so I've taken some notes actually. And so these particularly apply to mums who have got older
Oh,
kids
you've
like
got
I.
tips. Okay, okay. I'm
I got the
strapping in.
bit.
I'm
Oh
into
yeah,
it.
no, I have my journalist notebook with me and everything.
Okay,
Um,
okay. So these are
so
tips for people that are in the trenches with motherhood
you're in the
and
trenches
sick.
and you're sick, and either you don't have anyone that can help, or even if you do, they're kind of not really being that helpful. These are survival tips. Now,
Okay.
disclaimer, I didn't necessarily follow all of these, but with hindsight, this is what I wish I would have done. These
In a
are
perfect
my
world, this
tips.
is what Claire would follow.
Yes. Okay. So this is what. So if I ever get sick again, I'm going to hold myself to these tips. Okay. So
Okay.
first thing, and I did do this, it's okay to let things slide. Okay. So for example, one of the days when I was sick and my husband was out of town and having fancy work dinners and wasn't able to help, not that I'm bitter or anything. Um, I, I was like, I'm not taking the kids to dancing tonight. Okay, I don't feel well enough. So dancing went out the window. So I emailed the dance studio and just said, hey, I'm not feeling great. Um, the girls won't be dancing tonight. So that was one thing. So that was off my plate. So I didn't have to face the 4 trips there and back to dancing because one finishes at one time, the other finishes at another time. And so I'm literally there and back 4 times on certain nights of the week. And so I
How
let
so you said no,
I
not
said
right
no.
now.
I
Priority
said
is
no.
my health at the moment.
Yes, I'm just kind of exhausted. I don't need to do
Yeah.
that. So I guess this actually leans into boundary setting, which I know we've touched upon before. And I'll be honest, I'm not great at upholding boundaries. I'm not great. I'm too like flexible, and I can be easily swayed to maybe stand down a little bit and reach a middle ground. So I need to work on boundaries. But this is what this basically is. It's setting boundaries for yourself at a time where you really need to put yourself first. And so the second
Wait,
tip.
wait, before we move on, Claire,
Oh,
I
yeah.
just want to point out because there's a lot of women that are going to hear set a boundary or say no or don't do the thing. And they're going to go, oh, but if I don't do the thing, like I'm going to, something's going to, like everybody's going to explode. Like, did
Yes.
anyone die or explode because you said
Nothing.
no?
No, nothing happened. Everyone made it to the next day. I think dancing class is still there. It didn't, burn
Yeah,
down. I think the girls can still remember how to dance, even though they didn't go last week. So yeah, everything, everything was okay. So
perfect.
this is what I would encourage you to be okay with. Be okay with letting things slide when you need to focus on you. It's okay. You don't have to like tick everything off on those days where you just don't have the energy because you're feeling ill and your body's telling you need to slow down and you need to recuperate, otherwise it's going to lead into something more serious like a chest infection or goodness knows what else. So the other thing that I think as moms we really struggle with is asking for help.
Hmm.
I do anyway. I rarely ask for help because I just do it. I deviate, but on my wedding day, I remember. Um, so this is to my husband that I'm with now, my second husband. Um, I instead of dropping the girls off because the girls would have been like, oh gosh, like 8 and 10 when we got married. I want to say, um, it's around that age anyway. So instead of dropping them off at my friend's house, so they could get ready at my friend's house, and I could just sort myself out. I was getting them ready. I was getting myself ready. There was just the three of us in my house. I drove us down to, I didn't even get an Uber or ask anyone to take us there. I drove us down to the wedding venue.
In your wedding gown.
My wedding dress. I did everything. I was like, and then, I'd got my driving shoes on and I'd got my wedding shoes. So I had to like switch out. And then I'm dropping the girls off at the wedding venue. And I'm saying to everyone, oh, hi guys, I'll just park up. I'll see you in 10. And this is ridiculous. So I am known to just take on way too much and just do everything myself.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to this conversation, asking for help is something that you just need to do if that is an option that's available to you. If there is some help around, ask for it. So I did ask my husband to do some stuff that I wouldn't necessarily have asked him to do usually. Even silly things like taking the dog out just before we go to bed. I always do that. Well, he did that because, I'm not feeling great. I need to be in bed. So asking for help, very important.
Yeah. Well, and if help's not available, because I'm hearing, I always go, okay, devil's advocate. What's the other responses? Like, well, must be nice to
Yeah.
have a husband, or must be nice to have a grandparent, or blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Also, there are help options and resources available to you where you can get your own help. So maybe
So
that looks like DoorDash or grocery delivery. Was that your next tip?
my next tip. So I at least once last week the girls had Domino's pizza because it's down the
Yeah.
road. They delivered it exactly that. They had tinned soup, like canned soup, one night. The other night because they are old enough to be able to cook, but I still kind of like cooking for them. But they made themselves some pasta. So if the kids are older, then yes, I think it's absolutely fine. Even if you're the kind of mum that does generally cook for them, they're fine to make themselves something.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be good. And then, but then even if you've got younger kids or you just I'm done. I can't even think about cooking. Do things like DoorDash. Do things like order a pizza in. It's fine. I mean, the kids love it actually
Absolutely.
because usually during the week that isn't something that we would do. So they're like, "Yay, yeah, great,
Yeah. Well, and it's like special for them. I was just going to say that
yeah,
same thing. We had kind of a crazy week over here, and I won't, that's a whole story for another day. But like, there was a day where I was like, I literally cannot get to the dinner situation. Why
yeah."
does dinner have to happen every night? This is bullshit. Like,
So inconvenient. What the
so
heck?
irritating. Like, can't you all just take a pill and that's how you get nourished? Like, this is ridiculous. But
Yeah.
I decided, I was like, you know what? I have dino nuggets in the freezer, and I have dino
Ooh.
like broccoli tater tots, like they're shape of dinosaurs.
Oh,
And
cute.
we're gonna have dinosaur dinner tonight. And I just threw all that shit on the sheet pan, threw it in the oven. I don't do that every day. Like usually my kids get a well balanced meal and everything's great. But like they were stoked about dino dinner. They were like, best mom ever. Can we have all the dipping sauces? I'm like, I got your sauces. Like
Oh, that's so
it was the
cute.
best thing for them,
Yeah.
but I was exhausted. And what's funny is as mothers, I think about my childhood and the times where I had breakfast for dinner or we had spaghetti for the second night or whatever, or pizza for dinner. It was never, I'm going, my mom is really disappointing me right now by not giving me this like well balanced meal. It was like, yay, pizza.
So I think that's something that we put on ourselves because I agree. I don't think the rest of the family is like, oh my God, this is terrible.
She's
You didn't
really
make that
dropping the
from, yeah,
ball.
you didn't make it from scratch. I will not eat that. Like no one's saying that. That's the pressure we put on ourselves. But yeah, so again, like dial it in, phone it in if you need to when you're
Yeah.
ill. It's absolutely fine. The other tip that I did actually implement. So yeah, I've got two girls. They're teenagers. They're close together in age, so they do fall out. And I had to remove myself from situations because I just didn't have the energy to deal with it. And I knew that if I did, I would be really cranky and probably overreact just because I didn't have the energy. And so, a couple of times last week when I was not feeling great and they were going at it over, oh, you've used my hoodie, and oh my God, you've used my moisturizer, mom. I'm like, girls, I was like, I'm ill, I'm poorly. You two need to sort this out. And I actually took myself to my bedroom and just like I just remove myself from the situation. Now that you could say, oh well, that's not great parenting because you're not actually parenting there. You've just pushed the responsibility onto your kids to sort it out. But again, if your kids are older like mine, I think it's okay when you're not feeling great. I just didn't have the energy. And the thing is, the reason why I removed myself, Christina, is because I knew my reaction wasn't going to be helpful anyway. I had zero patience that day. I was feeling awful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so, well, if possible, remove yourself from the situation if you feel that you're going to negatively react to either your partner, your kids, your parents, whoever it is that's around you. If you're able to, and that's an option for you, just take yourself into another room because it never ends well.
Well, and to that little voice in your head that you just spoke out loud of like, you're not quite parenting right there and blah, 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 blah. It's like, maybe not in that exact moment, but that's not the everyday norm. Neither is being sick. And
Yeah,
so that's something that I think goes back to your first tip of like not holding yourself to the healthy standards. Like if
yeah.
you're in good health, you've got energy, you're at your top of your game, of course you wouldn't make that same decision, or maybe you would, who knows? But,
Depends.
it's the whole 90-10 rule. Like, it is okay if sometimes your kids have to fend for themselves when it comes to squabbling. It is okay if sometimes this happens because it's not all of the time and every
Yeah,
single day. It's just
yeah,
these little off occasions when you don't have the capacity and you're a human being. And I think even with your girls, like you said, I'm feeling poorly, like it's important for them to say, hey, like when you're not feeling good, you should rest.
yeah.
Otherwise, they push through too. Like they're learning how to be humans from you.
So here's the funny thing. I'm kinder, I would say, to them than I am to myself. Because if
Mm,
they were feeling like that, I do encourage them. I do encourage them to push through because I think that's a good it's a good life skill. But then I'm also very aware that if they are burnt out, if they are just, feeling run down or sick, then I need to promote self-care to them. So
yeah.
I would be okay with them staying at home and staying in bed. If they were ill like I was last week, I wouldn't have an issue with that. In fact, I'd obviously encourage that. But then with me, I hold myself to a different kindness standard. I'm not as kind, like, you still need to. One of the days I went out for a hike. I mean, I had a fever. What the heck was I doing? But I thought this was a good thing to. And it wasn't a good thing because I came home and I was like, felt so much worse. But I
I'm
dusted myself up and went out on this. Oh, get some fresh air, yes. And then came home and I was like, oh God, why did I do that? I probably set myself back a day. Um,
Yeah,
but
don't push
yeah,
yourself.
so
You got to rest your body when you need to rest. It's like
yeah,
basic situations, like when you're tired, sleep, like when you're hungry, eat. Like you have to
yeah,
do these things for yourself. And when you don't do the things that your body's needing, your body can react negatively later on and it could be even worse than you anticipated.
yeah, totally. But it is interesting how even when we're ill as mums, we are still expected to carry on as if everything's okay. And maybe the expectation is during the downtime of not running around after anyone else, you can recuperate. But then when it comes to, the school run or sorting stuff out that we would generally do, there's still tasks that are there for us. We're still kind of expected to do it. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think it goes back to so many things we've talked about prior where it's like you'll figure it out, I'm sure. Like it's just this like
Yeah.
society expectation of like you can handle all of the things, figure it out, mom.
Yeah,
It's the same reason why if both parents are working, mom gets called when the kid throws up. It's like
totally.
surely mom can handle the other thing and still get her work done because she's a mom.
Yeah.
Whereas the husband couldn't possibly because he's focused on his work.
Yeah.
Like there's just this and when speaking of when dad's sick, whole different situation. Am I right?
Yeah, so well, let's talk a little bit about that because you've actually had that. So while I was ill, your husband had a medical situation, and now
Yeah.
he's off his feet. And tell me about that.
Well, here's the caveat. Okay, I will say my husband actually had emergency gallbladder surgery, so he is without an organ now. Which, by the way, I was like, if you wanted to like lose weight, you could have just done it a different way. but,
Oh my gosh.
but
Oh no.
I was laughing at him. But he was sick all week leading up to that, and I thought he was having a stomach ache. And I
Mm,
remember I was actually on my period, and I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, is your tummy hurting?" Like, I was very much like not here for
Okay.
his like shenanigans of having to rest so much because I
Yeah.
was dealing with these like severe cramps and
Yes.
still
Yeah.
carrying on with everything.
Yeah.
Um, but it turns out he actually needed to get his gallbladder removed, and now he is on mandatory rest, and he cannot pick up anything over 20 pounds for 2 weeks. And
Oh.
so, and it's hard because he wants to go do things. He doesn't want to rest. But I will say, when he is needing rest, guess who doesn't make a single peep near him?
Yes.
Like, I make sure the
Yes.
door's shut. I go in there and go, hey, do you need anything to eat? Do you want anything to drink? Like, I'm, waiting on him, making sure he's okay. I treat him as if I would treat one of my children. Like, he
Yeah.
needs to rest. It's important for him. These are things he needs versus like we're describing with us, where it's
Mm,
like, actually, you need to keep going. I will say that previous to my divorce, I handled myself being sick differently. I used to really push through a lot and be like doing all the things because the husband I had on the other side didn't do any of the things.
yeah.
So it was like I'm holding everything. If I don't pick it up, nobody will.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in an equal partnership, I do tend to rest like when I am sick to a
Good.
point. To a point. Like if the school calls or like I have to bring the child to gymnastics or something like that. If I'm not dying, I'll go. But like
Mm,
I used to not rest as much at all before. And now that I have someone I can count on, there's a little bit of ability to rest. But for women like yourself, where your husband's working outside the home,
mm.
who the hell is going to pick up the kids if you don't pick up the kids?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was literally, you know, contagious and feeling dreadful, but I was still driving the car. I was waving to people
Yeah.
saying, I can't wind the window, Dad, I'm not well. I don't want to pass this on to you. It was literally that situation. And in
Yeah.
in any other circumstance, I wouldn't have got up that day. I would have stayed in bed. But it's like, well, who's going to get the kids to work? To school? Because there's no one else here.
That's the thing is if you don't have the flexibility with your partner for them to be able to grab some things, you're kind of forced to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's like unique to mothers. I don't know that men navigate that quite as much.
I don't think,
I couldn't say that I couldn't say what's happening in same sex relationships, but for
yeah,
men and women dynamic,
yeah,
typically the females are expected to grab all of the pieces and not drop anything because it's
yeah.
like, well, and I don't know if that's necessarily coming from our partners or the society or if we do it to ourselves.
I think it's ourselves, but I think it's as a result of societal norms that have just been ingrained into women for decades and centuries, frankly. I do want to shout out my lovely friend Yasmin, though, and this is the other point I wanted to get to.
We love
She
Yasmin. She's a listener.
Yasmin. Oh my God. Yasmin's our biggest fan. Hi, Yasmin. I love you. And we
Hi,
will do coffee
Yasmin.
soon. I've just been a little busy, but I promise you, I'll get to it in the next few days. But so Yasmin's kind of like a sister to me. She's lovely. She moved over from Turkey around the same time as the girls and I moved over from England. So we had that bond. And anyway, Yasmin, checked in with me and asked if I wanted, her to collect my youngest because her youngest and my youngest are at school together. And she was just, been really helpful. So the other point I wanted to make was, even if you haven't got like in my situation, I have a partner, but he's not really around. He's very busy with work and often traveling. So I do my only other support network, are people like Yasmin, and I only have a small little network, but they're always there. They're very reliable, and so tap into your network. So have you got moms that are doing the same school run as you are? Can they pick your kid up? Could they take them to dance for you? Don't be afraid to reach out, because I always think that I would do the same for them. And so if they are in that situation, just pay it forward. You can repay them at some other time. But I do think that mums get it. They understand that when we're sick, it's very rare that we're able to take the luxury of having a few days in bed. We've still got to just get on with, the whole aspect of being a mum. And so I've just been very grateful for my mum friends, because they really did reach out and say, let me help you with the school run or whatever, and that meant a lot. So yeah, tap into your network. It doesn't have to be family or your partner. It can be other mums, and even if you're not that close with them, if you know they're doing the same school route as you are, I tell you, 9 times out of 10, they won't mind helping out, because they get it. Mums just get it.
Yeah, and for me, when I offer help, I also go, well, you know what? If I'm offering this help when I need help, I bet you this person's more likely to help me. It's a
Totally.
nice way to build a bond. Like if you
Yeah.
have a mom friend who's like in that middle stage of like you've traded numbers but you aren't quite at like hangout status, helping her really brings you guys closer and gets to a place where you can start calling each other real friends, because
Yeah.
there's that like jump from like this is a friend of my daughter's, that's her mom, and then all of a sudden she becomes like Susan, my friend.
Yes.
um and that doesn't happen without some sort of connection, whether it's help, sharing laughter, sharing grief. Something has to connect and bind you in order to make that next level step. And so why not ask for the help? Or if she's offering it, take it, because that's another thing is people offer help and we're too proud to take it. I'm telling you right now, when you're down, take the help. Do it. No,
100%.
nothing will happen. No, nobody will, the village will not burn down. Like things are going to be fine if you take help.
100%. And then that does kind of take us back to the whole village that we talk about often on this show. In fact, our show is
Yeah.
built around the village. This is a case of where the village can really be invaluable, because you may not have that help in the form of a partner or even family around you, but the wider village, the mums around you, that's when, they can really, really kind of show their steel. And like you say, it can be a reciprocal thing, where if that person did that for you, then you're absolutely going to be there if they ever need you. And it's nice to have that mutual, um you know reliable connection with someone. It's necessary. It's essential. Yeah,
Yeah.
mums need to be looking after mums. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the Momversation Club.
And if you've enjoyed today's show, which we hope you have, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach even more moms and build a stronger village.
It sure does. Until next time, bye.